name's John and welcome to my bunker. Today we're going to do a 1,000-mile review on the 2025 Triumph Speedmaster.
So I bought the bike in May. I paid $14,000 for it. And I had to put 500 miles on it in about 2 weeks because every June I head up to Laconia in New Hampshire for Bike Week, and I wanted to get the first service done before I headed up there. So Laconia, New Hampshire is a great place to test out a new motorcycle because you got the mountains, right? There's big hills, there's windy roads, there's highways with high winds, some as high as 25 miles an hour, light rain, heavy rain, group rides, solo rides, and even some dirt roads to ride on. About 2 weeks later, I headed out to Gettysburg, Pennsylvania for Gettysburg Bike Week. And this is a fun event, but I think what was significant here is that I probably rode at some higher speeds than I've ever ridden at before. Pushed this bike to my limit, and it performed very well. And you'll get to see that. We're going to look at all these different road conditions, and you'll get to see for yourself how the bike performed and decide for yourself.
So I waited 1,000 miles. After 1,000 miles, I feel like I'm pretty in tune with this motorcycle. I know, what's good, what's not good, what I want to change, what I don't want to change. And I think this is probably about the right time to do a review. This bike is 532 pounds dry, and it's a 1200cc engine. These carburetors are not real. It's fuel injected for sure. They put them on there just to keep it authentic looking. They look pretty cool, but they honestly do nothing. So we're going to get into every kind of riding scenario, but I wanted to point out kind of the good and the bad and the ugly on this bike before we get into the details. And the good, obviously, is the seat. All right, let's start right here. This seat is what attracted me to this motorcycle. I wasn't even looking for a cruiser bike. I actually was looking for an adventure bike, and I thought that, because of the suspension would handle potholes better. But while I'm at the dealership, he's like, why don't you sit on this thing? And I'm like, well, this is not gonna work for me, right? I mean, yeah, look at this seat. I saw the seat and I'm like, sure, I'll sit on it, but I'm not looking for a cruiser bike. Handlebars, they call them beach bar handlebars. You see how they're kind of like curved back, like a bike. And I'm like, oh, I'm gonna be riding on the boardwalk. Oh, this sounds like fun. So I really had no intention of getting this bike. But I sat on it, just to appease the guy, and I'm sitting there and I'm on it and I'm like talking to him, and then it's like 5 minutes goes by and 10 minutes goes by and I don't want to get up. And I know a lot of it has to do with the seat, but these handlebars, I kind of liked them, as I was sitting on it, I thought the riding position was pretty awesome. The suspension is fabulous, okay? I call this the Cadillac because I hit bumps, I hit potholes, I hit things like that, and I don't even feel them. So basically what we're gonna do here is we're gonna go through the bike itself. We'll do a little walkthrough of the bike, go over all the features and the specifications and things like that. And then we'll get into some different riding scenarios, wind, rain, highway, back roads, curves, hills, mountains, all that stuff. So you can actually see for yourself how it performs. You don't have to take my word for it. Seeing is believing, I guess, is the best way to go. So that said, let's get into it. Let's do a walk around of this bike.
So this is the 2025 Speedmaster in blue and silver. I think you can also get it in red and white and black and silver too. It has a 1200cc parallel twin engine, delivering 76.9 horsepower. It delivers 78.2 pounds of torque, and it's a very linear torque. You can see here it has those beach bar handlebars. It's kind of a signature for the Speedmaster. On the left side, you have your information button, your turn signals, your clutch, and your horn. And then over on the right side is your throttle with your mode buttons. Now this has a throttle by wire. It's pretty basic speedometer right here. It's chain driven, dual exhaust, 1200 cc's, 16-inch spoked wheels. You see those carburetors? They're absolutely fake. They don't do anything. And there's a side key, which I absolutely love there. And one thing about Triumph, they don't skimp. Okay, all these parts and accessories are metal except for the turn signals and the brake lights.
All right, on your left side is your clutch side, right? You have this I button, information, which changes the display on your dashboard. These are your turn signals, obviously, left, right, and then just push it in to reset. There's your horn, which I always forget and always push the starter button when I'm wide, like hi. And then there's this little button here, which I honestly have absolutely no idea what it does. I should probably look into that, but I haven't as of yet. So your mode button right here, okay? There's only two modes. There's rain and there's road, okay? So normal or wet. So this is basically your dash. You know, you got your speedometer. Right here is your gear indicator where that N is. So down here, you'll see it says road. If I go over here and I hit the mode button, it changes to rain. And if I hit the mode button again, it changes back to road. So now we're looking at the I, right? The information button. And I'm gonna hit that and let's scroll through the menus. So right here, what we're looking at is miles per gallon. So it will tell you, you know, your miles per gallon that you're getting. That's my average, 44.4 miles per gallon I've been getting. They advertise this as getting 60 miles per gallon. And honestly, I've gotten close to that on highway, kind of gliding a few times, but it is definitely not the norm. I think this is pretty accurate, the 44. 30 miles till empty, it tells you how many you have till empty. There's the time and your RPMs, which a lot of people really like to do that. This thing hovers right around like 3, 4, 5,000 RPMs. That's how many miles I have, 1,140 miles. If you run low on gas, this is your fuel gauge over here, but right up here, you're gonna get a yellow light that'll come on. It's pretty big and pretty noticeable. Turn signal indicators, your neutral indicator, your high beam indicator. That's it. So let's have a look at these wheels, okay? First thing you have is these Roadtech 01 tires, which are mounted on a 16-inch wire-spoked wheel, okay? We have Brembo brakes over here, and we have anti-lock brakes, which come standard on this bike. And I want to point out, that's metal, okay? No cheap parts on a Triumph.
All right, folks. Well, enough of that technical stuff. Let's get into some road testing, because I think that's what everybody wants to see here. So I'm going to start out here on some Pennsylvania highways. This is Route 422, which terrifies me, and it is one of the reasons I got this motorcycle. Is our highways are so bad where I live that riding my old Suzuki 650 was, you know, that it was just life or death every time you went out. I would never even ride on this road on that bike. It was so bad. So I got the Triumph out here, and I call it the Cadillac because, as you can see, even with some of these bumps, which are significant, it's just gliding right along. It's holding its position, and the wheels are thick enough that it, you know, absorbs a lot of the bumps. One of the problems with this highway is if you notice the center line and all the exits, they tend to have big gaps in them. And if on a smaller tire, you know, they'll just suck up the tire and flip the bike on you, no matter how good a rider you are. So anyway, for you guys, I am doing a solo trip down this road, and I probably won't be back on it again. But let's get off the exit here. You got to find a little spot to get off there, and we'll head down the ramp. And I think you'll see some of the more positive aspects of this bike, I think, as far as power, maneuverability, and visibility. I think visibility is key, you know, the mirrors and stuff like that. So as we approach this on-ramp here, you know, it's a pretty short ramp, and the cars come flying up because it's another highway. So you literally have like 10 feet to figure out what to do. So that mirror worked well. I saw that car coming, you know, clearly, and I knew to just wait, and there was a spot behind them. So I get out here, and this is a not a cable accelerator, okay? It's electronic, and I'm cranking on the thing, and at this time, I think it's like a cable because I hadn't realized it was electronic yet, and it's just cruising away. You know, I'm passing these cars pretty easily, and I'm not what you call a fast rider. Like I said, I'm a half throttle kind of guy. You'll never see me doing over 100. 0 to 100, you know, I can have some fun with, but After I won't go past 100. So yeah, it flicks in and out of lanes pretty easily. Pretty much the same as my 650, close to it anyway. Definitely has good maneuverability. It's being 350 pounds. It's a little more flickable than a heavier bike would be. And the throttle, as you see, if you want to pass somebody, it's just super smooth and super easy. Try to get in front of this truck here. Maybe we'll get a little bit of acceleration on it. I'll get up like 65, 70 maybe. All right, here we got a little bit of space to move. So I'm going to whip past this car pretty easily. Or no, I won't. There's a truck in front of me. So let me get in front of this truck, and then we'll pull out a little bit and see how she does. I think right now I'm doing 65. And like I said, the power is very linear. So for going from 20 to 45 is pretty much the same as going from 65 to 85, allegedly. And it handles the turns, even at the speed, it handles them very smoothly. Like you'd feel like you're doing 35 miles an hour. Like I said, it's like a Cadillac riding this thing. All right, so we're going to get off the highway here at this exit and roll up. And today is a pretty hot day. I'm surprised my phone hasn't crashed on it because of the heat. But it's pushing 90 degrees out. And so I just went, 10 minutes down the highway, hitting some decent speeds. And you would expect a lot of heat to be coming off this engine, being a 1200 and all. But it's really not very noticeable, to be honest with you. It's liquid cooled, so it handles its own. It's not going to like overheat on you at a red light or anything like that. But, a lot of people do complain about, the heat coming off their engine. And there is some, I'm sure, but it's just not really noticeable. I have long pants on and I don't really even feel it. So like in-town driving, low speeds, maneuverability, it's a very stable bike. I try not to stop, at red lights, how we do. You try to roll to as slow as you can and then inch along, and this bike does that just fine. It stands up literally almost at a complete stop on its own. So I like that. All right, so let's head up to New Hampshire here. I'm up at Laconia, New Hampshire. I come up here every year for Bike Week. I absolutely love this rally because it's on a lake, so it's in the mountains, it's stunning scenery, and the roads are made for motorcycles. As you can see, it's pretty well attended. But the thing about it being June in New Hampshire is you're going to get some kind of weather up here, all right? We get usually some pretty high winds. They'll be right around between 10 and 20 miles an hour a lot of the time. So if you have a lighter bike, it's really going to affect you. When I was here on the 650, I really had a hard time on the highways, to be honest with you. I rarely went over 40 miles an hour. I would just drive and let everybody pass me because it was kind of crazy. But as you can see, a million people come out for this thing. It's crazy, and it certainly is a very good time. So I stayed in a campground this year up here, so I could afford to stay the whole week instead of just a couple days and spending like $500 a night on that. A campground is only like $40. And as you can see, it's Gunstock Mountain, so the whole mountain is pretty much dirt roads all in and around the campgrounds, roots sticking up and all that stuff, lots of rocks. But the bike was fine. I mean, this isn't really like off-roading, like tough terrain, but it's certainly not stable ground either. There's a lot of motorcycles on it. Everybody, you go pretty slow, but the bike was very stable on it. I felt balanced so that I didn't, have to keep putting my feet down or anything like that. I could go, 20, 30 miles an hour if I had to on most of these roads. But yeah, as you see, them roots stick out. It's something. So it wouldn't be Laconia if we didn't have some rain. And of course, my first time trying to go to the White Mountains, I got nailed about halfway up. Everything was fine. I got halfway up there, and then it was just started raining a little bit, and then it started picking up and picking up. I honestly did not think to put it in rain mode. I'm not used to having that option, and I didn't have it on my last bike, which I have for like 8 years. So I just kept riding in normal mode, and I didn't really have any problems. The bike performed just fine. You know, I mean, I've been riding for 10 years, so I'm pretty good with the throttle, and I'm not really that aggressive with it to begin with, so it wasn't that big a deal. But eventually the rain, it got to be a little bit much, and I saw some people under an underpass, so I decided to pull over and hang out with them a little bit. I guess, you know, that's how you meet people. All right, so the highway in New Hampshire, this was probably one of the biggest tests for me for this motorcycle, because I get a little, you know, itchy on high winds. You know, I see people flying past me, and I'm like, I don't know how they do it. But I'm used to riding a 650, like I said, and that thing gets blown all over the place. But this really held its own. I didn't really go past like 60, 65 on the highway. It was just a little too high a wind. They were like 25 plus miles an hour, and I was feeling it. The bike wasn't getting blown around, but I'm just a little nervous kind of rider that way. I'm not going to take chances. Plus the scenery is spectacular, so I like to see what's going on. But you'll probably see up here coming up a couple of bikes go flying past. Yeah, as you can see, these guys are just cruising right past me. They're not doing super fast either. Like, this is the kind of road, if the wind was slow, you would probably be pushing 90 plus miles an hour easily on this, because these roads, they're very smooth. They're very subtle curves. What's the word for it? Subtly curvaceous. I don't know. But yeah, these roads are made for motorcycles if the wind is right. These guys are going a little faster than me, not much. A couple of smaller bikes tore past me. You know, they were probably doing like 85 miles an hour, and then I guess they saw me riding and felt like they had permission to slow down, so they did. So here we are in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, and the weather's a little better, so I'm able to go a lot faster. We're doing about 90-ish, a little higher maybe. Back to New Hampshire. I did a couple of group rides up here, and, you know, a lot of the bikes were Harleys. You know, they were slightly bigger bikes, I'm going to say, most of them, than mine. Not too many of the Sportsters in our group. And, you know, the roads wind around the lakes pretty good, and we're doing a mediocre speed here until the car in front of us clears out, and then you'll see like the speed picks up exponentially. The roads are pretty curvy, and, you know, I just leaned right into them. The bike is very intuitive. You know, I didn't feel like I had to do any kind of forcing or anything like that on the bike to get it to go around the corners. It just glided right around. Yeah, it's beautiful scenery up here. That's why I love it up here so much. This week, there's just motorcycles everywhere, all through these mountains in Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine. The White Mountains are up there, so that's where a lot of people head to also.
So you might be asking yourself, like, John, you said at the beginning you're going to tell us the good, the bad, and the ugly. And all you've heard so far is the good, me gushing over my new motorcycle and how much I love it and all this stuff, and it does everything wonderful. So what is the downside on this bike? I was initially going to tear up the headlight, to be honest with you, because I got caught in, you know, sundown, probably like my second day that I had the bike, and I'm riding down one of these like pothole-filled highways, and I could not see the road. I could not find the high beam light. So it's actually a trigger up here. I discovered it the other day. The trigger is like super easy to use, and when the brights are on, it's pretty reasonable. I would still consider maybe getting some kind of running lights for the bike, because I want to be able to see. You know, I'm getting older, my eyes aren't that great, and I'm not like willing to take chances like I did when I was younger. So I think a little extra lighting would not hurt the bike. Other than that, you know, basically it's a simple bike. There's only 2 modes, so if you're somebody who likes to fine tune, you know, your ride for every condition, or, you know, you have passengers getting on and off all the time, you want to quick adjust, maybe that's like a downside to it. But, you know, I do a lot of research, and I look for a bike for almost 2 years. Like, that's how I am. I look at things and I'm like, I don't like this, I don't like that. And when I find something that I really can't find anything I don't like on, then I know I found a winner. And that's kind of how it was with this. It's my first Triumph. And so far, so good. I've had it 3 months, over 1,000 miles, all kinds of conditions, and it has served me very well. So I'm going to give it an A+ rating for now. You know, maybe we'll do a 1-year review and see what it's like next year. All right, peace out, kids.